I'm going to talk about tourism, and these are some ideas that we could discuss more in class. The first thing about tourism today is that it comes from a global perspective. It means that tourism has been a global issue over the past 60 years. And what are some of the reasons? Well, people have more money. This means that they have more disposable income. They can spend more money right away for travel, for tourism activities. It is also cheaper because there is more demand, so there is more competition, and travel has become cheaper. And also, holiday providers, the people who work at holiday resorts and hotels, etc., provide many more mechanisms to sell their products through the internet and other means online. So it's become easier to make arrangements for travel. Then we also have a difference in the choices to travel. In some cases, people are preferring to travel through throughout the world and visit more continents, not just Europe. The reason is because there has been an improvement in infrastructure, with more airports, more facilities for travel. Also, you have countries in other areas where there was less development, and now they have more development and more marketing choices. So people can offer more marketing choices for tourists. There have been more there has been more consciousness, there has been more familiarity with these places, and people talk to each other. So the word from mouth to mouth is also important. Many countries have invested in infrastructure, so you see that these things have made tourism more attractive for possible tourists. Different resorts and facilities that we can check in the cities, but also in other places like rural areas and coastal areas. So you have different examples here of cities and the facilities, the possible features for tourism that are offered in these places. For example, in cities, you can have access to culture in the form of museums, galleries, exhibits, etc. Or you could go shopping, etc. In coastal areas, you have different activities, as you can see, for the water activities like fishing, swimming, etc. There are mountain areas where you have rural features for tourism, such as climbing, walking, sightseeing, skiing, etc. These are different touristic features that could attract other types of tourists. Okay, tourism is very important for the economy, as you know. In fact, throughout the last year, because of the coronavirus, we have had a very much lower percentage in the gross national product because of the low income coming from tourism, or the lower income coming from tourism in comparison with other previous years where we didn't have this problem. So there is this evolvement of tourism as an economic feature for all kinds of countries, not only Spain, but other countries that were poorer before and now they have more income because of tourism. In addition, you have more possibilities for local jobs if you have more tourists coming to the country, not only in terms of dealing with tourism, for example, hotels and tour guides, but also the indirect business that is coming from the tourism. For example, you have um, supermarkets or shops that are offering more products and can sell more because of more tourists. In Spain, we have these numbers. You see that since 2008, we have many visitors, millions of visitors coming to Spain. You see that there are different features in Spain. We have the countryside, interior tourism. We also have the cultural tourism in the sense that we have historic landmarks such as Roman aqueducts, Roman theaters, Roman monuments in different cities. These are historic landmarks. We also have churches and cathedrals and other religious monuments which attract different types of tourists as well. For example, in Santiago de Compostela, we have that kind of key religious tourism or cultural tourism to this town. You have many historic landmarks in this sense. In the other side of tourism in Spain, we have the urban center tourism, such as visiting the capital or visiting other cities, important cities in Spain. So, which one do you think is the most popular destination for tourism in Spain? Madrid or anybody any other guesses? Well, it's Madrid, yes, and also Barcelona has a lot of tourism. And you see that there is an 11% of the GDP, the gross domestic product, contributed by tourism in 2017, but now we have more possibilities to see other types of oops, no, it's not coming this. No, this is not working anymore, but there are other numbers for percentages that have increased for tourism. Okay, as we have said before, there are some problems for tourism. There may be some problems for tourism. For example, you have a problem with climate. If the climate changes, then the weather changes, and there could be a difference in climate. The economy could go down, as we have seen with coronavirus, for example. We have the pandemic, and this is a major problem for tourism as well. But you see there are other problems in other countries. You have terrorism or different events that occur and change the national scope, or the money may change, etc. So there seems to be a life cycle for tourism, in the sense that tourism in each country grows, evolves, and it reaches a certain level at which it may stagnate, may stop, and then it could go down because of various problems that are not totally solved, or it could regenerate, it rejuvenate. So in this sense, this is the best option for tourism, to reach the good level and then try to regenerate in the country. Different strategies that we could use or think about to regenerate tourism. You see that in cities there is a major problem with traffic. So what can we do about it? How can we solve some problems with pollution, traffic, etc.? So the use of public transport should be advertised, should be promoted. These campaigns should take place and add new services, new infrastructure, so that the cities change, the cities are more friendly for the tourists. In the sense of the other side of tourism, uh, rural tourism or ecological tourism, this is also a good alternative. Trying to maintain spaces, trying to make them clean and attractive for tourists, and to keep on working on these campaigns for future tourism. Other alternatives, you see at the regional level, you can have different attractions, different approaches, different focuses on these types of tourism. So maybe you could think about new activities to do with tourists, thinking about motorcycle tourism or other types of transport tourism. Try to come up with different hobbies and activities that may attract tourists. Even farming activities are good or could be good for tourists. Maybe people are interested in riding horses, going to farms and feeding animal chickens, etc. And there is also the timeshare development. This is the new way of sharing houses or apartments by tourists. So, may through an agency or through a regular private person, different locations could be shared in Spain and then in Denmark, etc. The problem with mass tourism, as we have said before, is that there are more and more people, and then you have to deal with these in different cities and different locations. But then you also have the good advantage about mass tourism, in which that you could unify this type of tourism through a means of language approach or language promotion. In this case, we are talking about English as a lingua franca, EFL, or no, ELF, sorry, there is a mistake. ELF, English as a lingua franca, it means that English is used to unify all activities in tourism. So we are dealing with people in all countries, and we're going to use English as a unifying code for hospitality, for example. So in the sense of having to deal with tourists in hotels, resorts, etc. And in this case, English is the language that has become more popular for these kind of activities. Different positive and negative aspects in the possible tourism developments. So there are positive economic impacts, as you can see. It will create more jobs, more local jobs, more income for people. But there could also be a monopoly of travel companies that do not let other local companies grow. So this could be a problem. In terms of social impacts, you may have a lot of jobs for people because infrastructure is improved, uh, businesses are improved, so you have different types of facilities for job creation. And then you also have the negative side of this, which is that you have more jobs, but also less well paid jobs. So the salaries are worse, and the jobs may be seasonal. It means that they may be temporary, only for the summer, for example. And then you may have environmental impacts, which means that positive things for tourism in the sense of protecting and maintaining the environment, but negative things in the sense of these are problems with people coming here and creating problems with the natural natural sites, and dealing with climate change in the sense of creating more pollution, etc. A good solution in that sense is to focus on ecotourism. As you know, that this tourism is important to protect the environment and to benefit local people and local activities. So the ideal conservation for uh, natural sites would be ecotourism. You see the numerous benefits that could be provided by ecotourism in the sense of environmental benefits, economic benefits, and benefits for the local people. You try to conserve the environment more, so this is a good thing. Reduces poaching and hunting of endangered species, so you try to maintain the native species. It protects the use of uh, other possible sources instead of fossil fuels. So not just fossil fuels, but more ecological sources. And we could dispose and recycle waste, the waste from tourism. There are economic benefits because you create more jobs, as we said before, for the local economy, and you can directly employ people, and so you have a more direct connection with people. And there are also different jobs for local people in farming and for community, also for community projects. You could improve these through ecological projects. Sustainable development is another key concept. So this means to improve the quality of life for people, trying to make things as conserved, as protected as possible. So you try to maintain the environment. The profits from ecotourism are many, could be many, and you could direct these to different areas in your community. So you are not trying to be damaging or detrimental to the environment with ecotourism. This is one of the important chief benefits. Okay, so these are some ideas about tourism in general and strategies that we're going to talk about in class, we're going to discuss, and we're going to work on projects dealing with different strategies for tourism in English. You see that the concept of English as a lingua franca is important in the sense that you are dealing with not just people from England or USA, etc., but from all over the world. And you are going to use English as a lingua franca, as a unifying code for everybody. Okay, so that's it.